find out what James makes of the big announcement yesterday from Keir Starmer that Britain will be recognising a Palestinian state. Very good morning to you, James.
Good morning, Julia.
Thank you for joining us. Was it the right thing for Keir Starmer to do?
It was, but it was very long overdue. The frustration that I'm hearing this morning, very different to the frustration that you're hearing and that I've heard from your callers already this morning. The frustration I'm hearing is that this wasn't done anywhere near soon enough and that it doesn't go far enough. And of course, it seems to be too little too late with regard to any action that the Prime Minister could take to stop what is a genocide being committed in Gaza.
OK, A, it's not a genocide. B, should it have been done on October the 8th, 2023? If we're going to reward Hamas, should we have just done it straight away?
So it's not a reward for Hamas.
Hamas they think it is. Why do they think it is?
Right. Well, I don't care what terrorists think, Julia.
No, but if they think it's a reward, then it is a reward, right?
Yeah, but we don't govern with terrorists in mind, do we? We govern with what's right and what is the right thing to do.
Gaza is run by Hamas terrorists.
Terrorists, yeah. It's not a state, not a country.
Yeah. No, it's not exactly. It's not a state. The West Bank is run by the Palestinian Authority, which is run by Fatah. By the way, if there were elections, not that anyone's had elections for 20 years, Hamas on the polling now would win. So the whole thing would be run by Hamas
We don't acknowledge people's human rights and their rights to govern and have their own state based on Poland, do we? And if we don't like the results, unfortunately, there is still a situation here whereby if Palestinian recognition is not given sooner or later, and by the way, I still think, even if it is given now, which it has been, that it won't make a difference. I don't think it will make a difference to what the outcome is going to be. I think Benjamin Netanyahu is going to wipe the Palestinian people from Gaza. I think he is going to occupy Gaza. I think they're going to develop it alongside with the Americans, and Donald Trump and his cabinet will be playing Gaza.
Here's the thing. You say there's a genocide. There isn't. I mean, on no basis anyone is playing it.
On many bases.
What do you think the word genocide means?
Okay, well, every international body...
Every captured international body, yeah.
Sorry, no, every international body that recognises genocide has recognised this as a genocide, so I don't know what more you want.
The British government doesn't recognise it as a genocide.
The British government is not... The British and the American governments are complicit in that genocide. Complicit. Of course they're not going to recognise it.
Okay, the United Nations report didn't mention Hamas until quite a few pages in, didn't even mention... didn't even mention October the 7th, only vaguely mentioned tunnels and vaguely mentioned hostages.
They've had separate reports on October.
Separate reports. Oh, okay, right.
Yes, because that's a separate issue to the genocide.
The ratio of combatant to non-combatant deaths is better than any war we or any other nation has ever fought ever in the history of the world. But you think they're committing genocide? I put it to you: the Israeli forces have proved themselves, and the Israeli government, to be fantastic at not only they've got military might, military capability, strategic capability in how they've taken on Iran, how they've taken on Hezbollah in Lebanon. I suggest you that if they wanted to commit a genocide in Gaza, they could have done so.
Well, Julia, if I thought you were capable of feeling shame, I would say that you should be ashamed of those remarks. But I know that you're not.
I'm making a factual point. They are capable of genocide, and they haven't done it.
Oh, wonderful. Who do you think is more capable of making the decision as to whether that genocide is being committed? The people who are committing it, the people who are complicit in it, or the people who are scholars in the definition of genocide?
Well, I hate to tell you, some of those bodies, actually, I could sign up and say I'm a genocide scholar and I would be counted on their band.
No, I'm sorry. Every single expert in that field internationally.
No, that's not true. That's simply not. That is simply not. That's a statement that is a lie. End of.
The only people pushing back on this are people who are blinded by their loyalty to Israel or people who have interests in Israel.
I have no interest in Israel, never taken a penny from Israel.
We know your opinion. I'm not saying that you are. I'm saying that the opinion of the British media.
I'm not blinded. I just know right from wrong. Here's the thing. What's going to happen? So let's just say, got Palestinian state. There's no agreed borders. They've never agreed to any of the borders that have been offered to them, and there are 4 times that the Palestinians have been offered a state. They've rejected it every time. We've got no clear government. We've got Hamas ruling one part, Fatah, the Palestinian Authority, ruling the other. If there were elections, Hamas, it is very likely, would win in the West Bank as well. So they'd be running the whole of the 2 separate parts of the constituent parts. Keir Starmer has said Hamas can play no part in any future governance of a Palestinian state. It's a bit colonial, isn't it, for the Prime Minister to say, we get to decide who your government is?
Yeah.
So, but you'd be happy for Hamas to be running a Palestinian state?
No, of course not. I don't.
Okay, so which is it? So how can it be a Palestinian state?
I'm not happy for the Taliban to be running Afghanistan. But
so we do get to decide who people vote for?
No, I'm not happy about it. But do I believe in self-determination of a people? Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so you think that Israel, after what's happened on October the 7th, hostages still being held in tunnels, being starved and beaten and used in propaganda videos right now, you think that Israel should say, we should absolutely have the people who did that and who have said openly, we do that every day if we could,
but applying that same logic, okay, applying that same logic to the Palestinian people, if you had an option of who to vote for and who to support after your child had been blown limbs apart by an occupying military force, who would you be backing?
I tell you, I wouldn't be backing. Wouldn't be backing Hamas, who deliberately put children and other civilians in harm's way.
The young men who are furious. I don't condone the actions of any terrorist organisation, but the young men who have anger and want to put it somewhere are being led by the likes of Hamas to put it in them and put their trust in them.
I asked you a question about Israel,
military occupation.
I asked you a question about Israel. Should Israel accept having a terrorist organisation that committed that massacre on those people and has vowed to do it again and again and again and is committed to the destruction of the Israeli state and the Jewish people, should they go, yes, absolutely fine, we sign up to that and we'll sit next to the UN? Should they do that?
Well, Israel isn't a thing collectively or homogeneously.
Israel is a country with a democratically elected government.
Yeah, but barely democratically elected.
It is a Democrat. It's a Democrat. Look, I don't hold a candle for Benjamin Netanyahu, but he's a democratically elected prime minister of the country.
Delay because of his corruption charges. This is a man who is
irrelevant. I asked you. No, it's irrelevant.
Benefiting from the hostages not coming back.
For the love of God, answer the question I've asked you. I've tried twice now.
What do I think the Israeli people should do? I think what the Israeli people should do, Julia, get rid of their corrupt government. A man who is being charged.
They can get rid of Benjamin Netanyahu. That's fine. If they did that,
continuing a war and a genocide because of that.
It's irrelevant. Should Israel, as an entity, the same as Britain as an entity has recognised the Palestinian state, should Israel accept a Palestinian state on their borders run by Hamas? Yes or no?
They should accept a Palestinian state on their borders,
whoever it's run by.
Yes.
Okay, so here's the question. Yes. So would we, for instance...
They don't have a choice in that.
They don't have a choice, except they do. Would we, at Britain, let's just say we had a land, let's say we have a land border with, say, France or Germany, which we don't, but nevertheless, if we did, would we accept, say, the Nazis remaining in power in Germany at the end of the Second World War and say, well, if the German people want to elect the Nazis, that's up to them.
It's interesting. You've brought up the Nazis, I haven't, so I mean it's an interesting comparison to make. But when I look at the crimes that are being committed by Israel and I look at the comparisons to 1930s Germany, they are horrendous.
No one doubted you didn't think that.
No, because
I asked you again. I've asked you a question, James.
People on the streets of this country, people on the streets of America are shouting these questions loudest, and it's on these extreme right-wing media channels like yours.
I'm not an extreme right-wing.
Just are in the minority and being upset.
But why don't you answer the question?
Why are you putting so much effort into defending a genocidal maniac in Benjamin Netanyahu?
Okay,
why?
They're not committing genocide. I'm not defending Benjamin Netanyahu.
You're in denial
I'm defending the right of the Israeli people to maintain their state of safety. You don't have a right
to kill children. Children don't have the, nobody has the right to kill children.
No, you should have told Hamas, your mates in Hamas that.
Hamas don't have the right to kill children. They're terrorists.
But we've just rewarded them for it. We've just rewarded them for it. They've just told us it was a reward. It was a victory.
Israel is supposed to be better. It's a nation state.
It is better, and that's why Israel doesn't put its own civilians or Palestinian civilians in harm's way. That's why they warn. That's why they That's why they evacuate cities. That's why they send warnings, text messages.
Great. Yeah, the cities they're not even meant to be in, Julia. They've just killed American citizens in Lebanon.
Let me come back to the. I think you'll find most Lebanese people are absolutely thrilled that Hezbollah has been defeated on the streets.
I'm sure.
I'm absolutely sure. Polling's very clear on that one.
I'm sure the family of the man and 3 kids
at the risk of breaking the habit of a lifetime, could you try and answer the question? Should we have left the Nazis in power in Germany at the end of the Second World War?
It's a ridiculous comparison.
It's a very reasonable comparison.
No, it's a ridiculous comparison. Because the Nazis were invading Europe. On a campaign
what do you think Hamas did on October the 7th?
Even I don't pretend, even when I believe that removing the Nazis from power, defeating Nazi Germany was one of the greatest achievements of this last century, in that, do not believe that Winston Churchill would have bothered himself to invade Germany had they not been invading other countries. That was the main issue there.
Hamas invaded Israel. Hamas and the Palestinian Authority run by Fatah have vowed the destruction of the Israeli state. That is their aim, as funded by Iran, which has also got that as its fundamental aim. How on earth could we, in the same situation, put up with having that on our border and saying, yeah, fine, because we want to keep Keir Starmer and James Matthewson happy?
The answer is that I don't believe in making comparisons between Britain and a Middle Eastern country.
But you'll happily just throw around words like genocide.
The history of that region is hugely, hugely complex.
Very complex.
I don't deny that. The history of these nations is complex.
I don't deny it at all.
But listen, somebody comes along with a magic book written 3,000 years ago and says, we demand to be here. We demand to be here.
As opposed to the magic book written 1,600 years ago.
And you've got 3 different groups of people with different magic books telling you that they're entitled to the land. It's a mess, of course it is. But the best thing to do in that situation is ensure that everybody is given equal opportunity of self-governance.
Which is why the Palestinian people and their representatives have been offered a Palestinian state on 4 occasions and they said no. We're going to have to leave it there. 1048 is that that's categoric. They have been offered a state and they've said no every time.